Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this video on the T34-85. This match is on Hurtgen Forest. This is a battle, and I've taken an unusual course of action and decided to spawn at the southern spawn point. With the aim of flanking around here, because basically no one goes around here, and then basically coming in behind the enemy team in the time. It'll take a bit to get there. We'll just go into the background about the T34-85. As I'm sure you're aware, it's an up-gun variant of the earlier T34-76s. Originally, the Russians weren't going to upgrade the T-34, they were originally designing a new tank, the T-43. It still originally had the same 76mm gun, but had much better armour, because it was designed to be a universal tank replacement for the KV-1 and the T-76. However, it was shown that its armour wasn't good enough to stop the German 88mm, and its mobility was vastly inferior to that of the T-34. And furthermore, at the Battle of Kursk, it was decided it was firepower and not armour that would be the greatest equaliser for the Russian tanks. After finding out the 76mm gun was pretty much largely ineffective against the frontal armour of the Panther and Titan tanks. So, with that, the T-43 project was basically designed to become obsolete because the turret originally wasn't designed to house a larger gun. So, instead of having to retool production, they then decided to basically upgun the T-34, which a gun based off of the Soviet anti-aircraft gun, actually the Germans did with their 88mm gun. This meant creating a much larger turret than before, which allowed the incorporation of a commander, instead of having the commander take both the job of the loader, as well as having to spot targets and generally be aware of the battlefield. And this vastly increased the effectiveness of the T-34 in the battlefield. When production only really started to begin with the main variant in February and March of 1944. However, there were earlier variants, which is the D5T variant in game, which were introduced to guard units of the Red Army in January. And this tank was a very good all-round tank. Its main disadvantage was the poor gun optics used by Soviet tanks at the time, and that's it. It was a great all-round tank. The gun was capable of killing every single German tank practically, up until the late war, King Tiger and tank destroyers, which were so unreliable and so few in number they were practically worthless and meaningless in the scale of things of the war. So the T-34-85 did go on to see service in the Korean War, where it proved extremely effective against the M24 Chaffee tank, but it was later outclassed by, in particular, the Centurion and the M46 Pershing. Here we go, this is when I first started to take contact, and I failed to spot that Panzer IV originally. However, I managed to turn around and kill him before that fire destroys me. Now that's something. If you have a loaded gun and you get shot within fire, you usually now have time to turn around and kill that person. Now up there I saw that Panzer IV moving. I just managed to flip his plate, but that was about it. The engine's still repaired here. So now I know that practically everyone there is in the time. It's just going to be a case of waiting for the engine to repair and then to move up. Anyway, the T-34, the production wasn't actually stopped until the end of the 1950s, resulted in being the second most produced tank of all time, and the Soviets did sell off most of their stocks of it in the 1960s. Resulting in it actually being still used in some armies nowadays, like Yemen, Somalia, and I believe there is another country that I can't recall. There we kill import, Sherman. Now we move up further. We know there is a tank destroyer up there. There is also that Panzer IV who we don't manage to get the reloading time off of on. Kill the AI tank there. Wasn't sure if he was an actual tank or not. And anyway, we continue pushing to the time. I swear, it felt like the German team in this, German and Americans in this case, were blind. This was a ridiculously effective here. Oh, again, bounce a shot there. This is the fortunate thing with the armor. The armor on the T. Okay, I will go into a bit of fight play. It's it's a tank to play aggressively. You've got a very good gun that has a very reasonable reload, as well as you being very mobile. Your armor at this tier isn't great, but it can still be effective, particularly when armored, angled. Armored, angled. You must really use your mobility and the fact and your one-shot potential with the APHE gun round to really move about the battlefield quickly and quickly shoot opponents. I don't know how I missed that guy there. I looked at him twice. So I suppose I'm as guilty as enemy team in this case. Anyway, we continue moving on because at this point I see the enemy team are starting to cap our zone here. And I most assuredly don't want them to cap. Again, they're all facing forward. That's something. Even if you've shot at someone and reloaded, you should look around. I know I don't tend to do it all the time, but it's something advisable to do. As well as, if you're able to spawn in, or you've been killed by someone, call out their position on the map, particularly if they were close by and got a flanking shot on you. Communication is often the key to actually winning battles, which is quite often why if your squads do always tend to do particularly well because they're working and communicating with each other. Now, again, failed to see that person yet. Was concerned this tire tank was alive, so I placed a shell on him. Should really have used the machine gun there, but I wasn't wanting to take the risk. Anyway, so we continue on. I know the community in general likes to call this tank biased. I would very much disagree with that. When playing other nations, such in particular the British, as they are the nation I've got the most experience with, I can say I haven't really had any trouble in dealing with this tank in the slightest. It is very easy to one-shot. It is very easy to one-shot even without explosive filler from the British tanks, and that's simply the case with a lot of Russian tanks because the crew compartments are extremely cramped. This causes spawning to be much more effective than it is on particularly German tanks where the crews are much more spaced out. Get that Sherman there that we just earlier. Anyway. And so I didn't really have any difficulty dealing with this tank. Even when I was facing it in the full up tier in the Achilles. Really all it takes is just if you have a good gun that can easily penetrate through the frontal armour, and you can check that, is if that gun has on the 30 degree pen more than 45mm, it can go through the hull. Particularly what the ballistic cap rounds. So I find the Simple Pounder is very good for going through there, so is Sable on the Comet. I'm going to be honest, I never really enjoyed the Sherman Command. Here we go, we shoot. Fire a machine gun at this guy, but he's already dead. And we're going to continue to move up towards the cap point. The match is largely over at this point, there are very few players left on the enemy team. Apart from some SBAs who will encounter a bit later. And that particular Now, I know people dislike it because, oh, it's a trolley bouncy armor. Yes. I know, but however, since the Gaijin have already decreased the effectiveness of sloped armor, and besides, it's just not the difficult tank to kill. Yes, you complain, oh, it's got a nuke grind. But the penetration nearly isn't as good as what it is on British and German tanks next to you. I can understand the complaints for the Americans. Yes, your tanks are generally over-tiered, but the Sherman, the 76mm Sherman at 5.3 has does have better armor than the T34. Yes, I appreciate that it may not be significant, but I'm trying to give an insight into why Gaijin have tiered the way they have. And here are these SPAs I was talking about, where I make a bit of a hash of things, shall I say. This is actually a great feature with the T34, is that you've got good all-round armor, so generally they can't... SPAs struggle to pin the sights. It is complaining that the T34 is biased because, oh, bouncy shift. I can say we rarely experience bouncing in 88mm. Yes, the occasional 75mm on like the Hetzer and the Panzer IV, but never really those from the Panthers at all. It's just... the armor on this tank isn't the greatest, but it is adequate for how it should be played. Anyway, I can say this is pretty much the end of the match here. I just repaired my tracks and then pretty much reversed, and that's about it. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and, well, subscribe, like if you want to see some more, and thank you very much.